welcome to the BoshNRoll channel. If you want to support my daily Eternal Magic offerings while getting amazing perks like the BoshNRoll Discord community, have me play your deck on the channel, or listen sideboard guides before tournaments, check out the Patreon or YouTube membership program. This channel is possible because of these amazing sponsors. Check them out, all their links are in the video description. As always, thanks for being here. Let's go play some Magic.
Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm playing Vintage, and this is because Patreon subscriber Heinz gave me some dealer's choices to practice for Eternal Weekend and do whatever I want, as long as it's sweaty and gets me towards exploring the formats I need to explore in order for these big tournaments to be successful in the near future. I'm recording this before the US Eternal Weekend. It will come out after that, but I don't expect any changes in Vintage from the November 10th ban update, so it should still be relevant for Italy and Japan. This is PO Breach. And before we confuse anyone, there are lands up here. The deck doesn't fit on the screen on Magic Online, even on the smallest thing, because it's full of busted restricted cards, but there are a bunch of lands up here. Fetch lands, dual lands, Academy, Saga. And here are the spells. Paradoxical Outcome, especially alongside Luris, with Thundertrap Trainer and Flame of Enor, is a popular and powerful deck right now. I won a time walk with it earlier this year at the NYSE Open, and it is a front runner for me to play at the US Eternal Weekend, which is why I'm doing this today. I recently went 5-0 with a list using Mystic Remora in some of its flex slots. That gives the deck even more controlling aspects. Like, this is a combo control deck. Paradoxical Outcome always has been. This is a powerful blue deck that sees lots of cards, and its primary win condition is just having more cards than the opponent. Sometimes you go all the way off and you win on the spot, but in general, you resolve a PO and you just have a 7-card hand and a ton of mana, and your opponent can't catch up, is what's really going on with Paradoxical Outcome. And then what you do with the 2 to 4 flex slots in the deck have really shown a lot of range. Recently, this one popped up, using the flex slots for 2 Underworld Breach and a Brain Freeze. This gives the deck more combo and different routes to combo, instead of cards like Swords to Plowshares or Mystic Remora. Those flex slots push the deck closer to the control side of combo control. A second combo package in the deck pushes the deck closer to the combo side of combo control. As a player, I tend to lean towards control more than combo. I would like to have more ability to stop my opponent and then win when I'm ready, rather than feel like I'm pushed to win faster due to my deck's construction. That's just true across basically all formats all the time. I'll usually register Brainstorm before I register Dark Ritual or Ancient Tomb for those sort of reasons. But I do have to respect this. This one, at the time of recording this, a recent Vintage challenge, which by the time you're watching it is a while back, but this won a recent Vintage challenge, and it is heavily represented in the 5-0 deck dumps. A lot of people have picked this deck up. It's not just one player who had a good day. It's a bunch of good players putting up a lot of steady results with it, and I gotta respect this. Underworld Breach is especially cool because it doesn't have to be a combo piece. You can just treat it like Yawgmoth's Will. If you have some early back and forths and PO gets countered, or you use your Time Walk early to develop, Underworld Breach, just casting a Time Walk and a Demonic Tutor, then passing the turn into your Time Walk turn, will probably also win you the game. Or even like Breach, Thundertrap Trainer, Flame of Enor, now you're up 4 or 5 cards from 1 card. Not that Yawgmoth's Will really needs my seal of approval. That card's obviously heinously busted, but being able to get that extra action, like, I just don't want to leave this deck tech without pointing out that Underworld Breach can also be a, air quotes, fair control card. It can just be a value reload at some point, and then you figure it out later. You can also use Underworld Breach to cast a PO that was in your graveyard already, and use that PO to pick up the Breach, and then you have the reload of PO, and you could still Breach in the future. Lots of cool aspects of this deck. I am just going to get in there and get some reps with it and see how I feel about this more combo-heavy version than the more control-heavy versions I've liked so far. I'm on the draw in round 1. My hand is heinously broken. My opponent said in the chat, "Oh shit, sorry, love the content, but this isn't a real deck." And I would keep my hand whether it's a real deck or not, but we'll see what that means. And this is something that some people get frustrated by when they play against like air quotes nonsense, when they're trying to get air quotes good testing. And you got to beat the nonsense. Sometimes people show up with decks they like or just cards they own. Oh, that probe is nice. What is going on over there? All right, so they have force blue card, but so do I. Now I have double force, double blue card. And I can unload here pretty aggressively, actually. All right, I'm going to go Pearl, Ruby, Lotus. All right, force pitching Dig. That is a good point to try to choke me. I think I want to force pitching Force here. Their hand is almost nothing. And I want Stock Up and Flame Inventor available. Yeah, I'm going to force pitching Force. The only risk is if they top deck exactly Collector Roof. All right, well, the runway's clear. I'm going to go blue, 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 white, leave a blue floating, and Stock Up. Mock Sapphire, Stock Up, Thunder Trap Trainer. These are a lot of good cards. I think Thunder Trap Trainer turning on this Flame Inventor will win the game for me next turn. Oh, definitely Thunder Trap. And do I want the stability of Tundra or the velocity of Mock Sapphire? Sapphire does increase my exposure to top deck Collector Oof, which is the number one thing I'm worried about right now. I guess I will take Tundra then. All right, Trainer and Tundra. I'll cast this Trainer. Trainer could still hit mana this turn. Paradoxical Outcome and Flusterstorm. I'll take the PO, put that in the bank, play Tundra. Pass. Pretty good turn one, I would say. There's the Sewer we knew about. Dumped a Soul Ring. There are no lands in the graveyard here. So if they did draw Collector Roof, they have to use Mana Crypt to play it, which is pretty awkward on its own account. It would annoy me a lot. All right, they just bought Luris. Cool. All right, I feel good about my spot now. Oh, well, I also just win. Literally just win here. I have the Lotus in my graveyard already. I can Breach, exile 3 cards, play Lotus, use Lotus to cast Brain Freeze. Their hand is Luris. There is nothing else that could be going on over there. In Mindbreak Trap and Daze. Daze doesn't beat me. Alright, I guess I'm just going to go for the dub. The Deathrite Shaman is not active right now. There's no land in the graveyard and there's no mana to exile anything. Alright, Breach. Yeah, Luris can't pitch to Force of Will or Force of Vigor. Black Lotus exiling exactly the 3 that I have. Make blue, Brain Freeze myself. Right, same targets. So Deathrite can spike a land here. I did give them a land. If they want to... Now something like Flusterstorm is online. Okay, cool. They've had enough. Alright, they saw the PO and the Breach. I did have to kind of give them everything there. Bug Luris. Bug Luris is a real deck, so I wonder what they meant by this isn't a real deck. Or maybe they just share my opinion that bug decks suck in Vintage in general. Like, I think the whole Collector Oof strategy is a bad one, if we're being honest. But if you've watched my content, you know I think that already. Alright, 4 Plows, 1 Portable Hole is what I'm looking at first out of the sideboard. Demonic Tutor is actually kind of mediocre because it is the 4th color in the deck, and presumably this deck has Wasteland in it. I think I'm going to go -1 Force and minus at least 1 PO. And maybe Opal goes with it. And I'll go 3 Plow, 1 Hole. My thought process here is that if we're playing to the board, I don't need this many Force of Wills, and most of their things could be answered 1 for 1. The PO and Opal, the way Bug generally attacks a deck like this one is with Artifact Destruction or Artifact Turning Off. That's Collector Oof, that's Force of Vigor. Luckily they can't have Pernicious Deed because of Luris. That is a notable card that sometimes shows up in Vintage. Null Rod, if they want to supplement their oofs. And getting away from the thing they're trying to do gets me closer to the thing I want to do. And then Demonic Tutor is weak versus both Null Rod and Wasteland because I might not have black mana. Maybe Force of Will is better than Flusterstorm, though. I just listed... Collector Oof is the card I'm mostly worried about, but I did bring in 4 other answers to it. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here. I don't want to dilute my deck too much. I still want to send it when the coast is clear. That's your strategic advantage over the fairer decks, like Dimir and Esperluris and Bug of any color combo. Another heinously broken vintage hand. This one doesn't have force protection though, but it does have Tolarian Academy, which is the card that can beat Collector Oof on its own. Bobble. Bobbling me. Opponent is on 7 cards, no mulligan. I got confused for a second because the bobble disappeared so quickly. They did keep 7. Alright, they saw something on top of my deck and then just passed the turn. Do they have the classic upkeep ancestral? They do indeed. Unlucky for me, but okay. I'll just have to do my own. Oh, I also have the win now. Okay. Mock Sapphire. Black Lotus. I think I want to play Academy now, and I'll Ancestral myself, which is counterspell bait here, because I can go... Oh, I need 3 cards in the graveyard. Oh, I have fucking Brain Freeze. I'll have 3 cards in the graveyard. All right. That happens. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breach. Enforce of Vigor will get me here, but I could also just win, maybe. They don't even want to see the Brain Freeze, but I mean, okay. That was a turn 1 win through a counterspell. I like it. On to the next one. The BoshNRoll channel is brought to you by Tales of Adventure. TOAMagic.com has almost 100,000 unique cards in stock. They offer free track shipping on every order, plus next day or 2-day options when you have an event coming up fast. They offer on-site pickup at major Magic events throughout the US, so you're never scrambling before your tournament. Stop by their booth to buy, sell, or trade at upcoming regional championships, Magic Con, Spotlight Series, and more. I love their selection of individually scanned high-end cards that show you exactly what you're buying. And the best part is saving 5% on every order with promo code BOSH. From Ancestral Recall to Zombie Master, get what you need quickly and in one place at TOAMagic.com. Eternal lives here. And on the play in round 2, with a 3rd consecutive heinously broken vintage hand, I am going to keep. I'm going to stock up first here. Ancestral, I can, like, if stock up finds a Sapphire, I could still Ancestral this turn. Or 2 Moxen and one of them's Opal. There's a few ways to still Ancestral this turn. And Mental Misstep is a card that exists. Next turn, I might want to use Mana Crypt for something else. Like if they counter my stock up, then next turn I can stock up again, then also Ancestral. That's all lined up. If my opponent has some sort of giant send, I'm not currently prepared to fend it off. I have no protection of any kind, but the breach is here if the pieces come together. All right, I'm casting Mana Crypt and stock up. Hey, I spiked the Mock Sapphire. That's the card I said. And even Force of Will. All right, Force of Will, Mock Sapphire. Sapphire. Mindbreak Trap. Disappointing. So this is probably Dredge. Do I care about this Mindbreak Trap? Who main decks this? Like, if I force the Mindbreak Trap, it might just turn on another one. All right, whatever. I'll pass. Or not Dredge. Just some weirdo with a Mindbreak Trap in the main. Soul Ring. Sensei's top. Spin the top. Took damage from my Crypt. And now I've got options. I'm going to Ancestral myself. I'll just start there. In Vintage, I try not to make my land drop if I could still draw Tolarian Academy this turn. I can not still draw Tolarian Academy this turn. I can still stock up. That would overfill my hand. Do I care? I could also just Portable Hole the Soul Ring and take the control route. Now I have double force, double blue card. Yeah, I'll put Soul Ring in a P-hole. Fetch and response. Undercity Sewer. They're on some sort of blue-black or Dimir, Tinker, or Storm strategy. Alright, flip the top. I hope this is Force of Will so I can feel good about countering it and not Mental Misstep, which I have to think about. That was an interesting gambit, though. The fetching the Undercity Sewer to see 1 card on top of your deck before flipping top versus fetching any other land, spinning the top. I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm just saying it's interesting and worth noting that they chose to do it that way. I wonder if they have Force and would have been happy with literally any blue card there, or they're neutral about this Portable Hole and just happened to spike on a low effort response. I'm not quite sure what that means. And then they also didn't counter my portable hole. All right, top's back, and they're passing. Interesting. All right. Okay, I'm holding Flusterstorm. That's a nice one. I'm gonna stock up, continue burying my opponent. And this is the control half of the combo control doing its thing. If I make my land drop, I can play around Spell Pierce. But again, that Tolarian Academy high roll exists in nature, and I want to experience it. All right, so I'm going to have 8 cards in my hand when this resolves, but I still have my land drop. Soul Ring gets me closer to God's Light, and I think it's just Soul Ring stock up, and I can just keep doing my thing here. Underground Sea, Soul Ring. And I'm not going to stock up again. I'm not that worried about the velocity, and tapping out a Flusterstorm here seems reckless, when Tinker is probably the best card in their deck. Urza Saga, and then they flip top in response to the Saga trigger, shuffling away top. They don't want that anymore. Looks like they're making a move on something here. Karn the Great Creator. Well, I'll counter that. Forest pitching Merchant Scroll. Cool. Alright. At the top was just shuffled away. Hey, Tolarian Academy. Always happy to see that one. Stock up. Keep it coming. I'm looking for a PO to just bury their life here, and there is one right there. And yeah, I'll take the Force of Will to back it up. All right. I can PO right now with no protection, or I can play the Academy. Oh, I'm going to play the Academy. It's just, do I tap the Academy here? I think the next Academy tap will be worth a lot more. I will give them their Soul Ring back temporarily. Okay, that resolved, and it drew all artifacts, which means that leaving the Academy untapped was a good bet. I'll get the hole back in. I love going in the hole. All right, floating some mana. You can have it. Take Soul Ring again. Change phases. I don't have mana floating. You have mana floating. Cycling Lorien. Got an Underground Sea. And now second main. Mox Opal. Soul Ring. If I breach PO here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artifacts, 1 mana floating. That's 6, 7, 8, 9 mana available. Yeah, I can definitely make a shot at it here. All right, breach is on the stack. Okay, 1, 2, 7 mana left. I'll start with PO. Do I target the breach here? That's interesting. The extra card could get me through, but I can also stock up an Ancestral more this turn. Right, I am not going to bounce the breach yet. I could still do it later. Right, PO. Targeting 5. They can have their Soul Ring back again. I don't think that's going to change the game. Okay, the PO resolves. There is another PO and Time Walk and a bunch more artifacts. I'm pretty confident I can win the game this turn. Opal. I guess I'll keep P-holing this Soul Ring. Mostly doesn't matter. Alright, opponent is F6, not even floating the mana anymore. Just being super honest about that. I appreciate the time saved. I'll PO for 7 from hand. There's my Jet. 25 cards left in my deck. I am certain I can draw them all. The Brain Freeze is also in my hand already, which is just lethal. Right, I'll probe them. See if they want to concede to hide info. Nope. Some sort of Urza Yogwill combo deck. And Brain Freeze you. I can just go straight to the head here. I don't need to target myself at all. We'll just take a look at their deck on our way through here. Tezzeret, Bolas' Citadel. They have not conceded yet, which makes me wonder if they're just F6'd and double queuing somewhere. Opposition Agent. That's an interesting one to know about. It's just some sort of Tez combo deck. And I'll Ancestral Recall them for the actual win. Cool. That was powerful. They're a Tinker deck with a bunch of counterspells. I like Pyroblast. I think I actually like Force of Negation, because they're a powerful combo deck with a bunch of Planeswalkers, the Tez and the Karn. That's all stuff I want to respect. The Portable Hole played a little bit there, but I don't actually think it's really great in this matchup. I don't need basic Island. They don't have any land destruction, unless we count Opposition Agent, which I don't. Chain of Vapor could bail me out of a Time Vault temporarily, or clear Karn for a turn. I do think Flusterstorm is better against them than Pyroblast, but I do want access to both. I want my speed. I want all my Mox in. I could probably shave a PO, or I could shave Lorien Revealed. Yeah, I think it's Lorien Revealed. There's still 24 mana sources in the deck, 13 lands, or 26 with the, yeah, all these Mox in, the 2/1 mana things, and Sink into Stupor. 26 is plenty of mana to play Vintage against someone who's not attacking your mana base. Consign to Memory hits Tezzeret and Karn, which seemed to be a lot of what they were doing. All right, I might want to consign. Do I have room for one more thing? Maybe I do shave a PO. Give up just one tiny piece of speed to lock in the control. I'm recording this during there's like this big Vintage finals playoff thing happening on Magic Online. I'm recording. I don't quite understand what it is, but I am recording during that, and I strongly suspect my opponent is double queuing right now based on how much time they're taking on just like thinking about mulligans and their F6 and their weird sequencing with that Sensei stop last game. There's just a lot of evidence to suggest this is not the only game they're playing. This is risky. If they just send it, I'm in trouble. But if I get a turn, I like my chances. All right, they kept 6. Jet, Vault, Saga. Pretty good start. Do they have Karn as well? Vexing Bauble. All right. Oh, my hand doesn't care about Vexing Bauble currently. It will, because I was hoping to draw some Moxen. All right, now it cares about it. But I do have Ancestral Consign and Fluster. I have 3 ways to spend a blue mana. They're passing on the mono colorless mana base. I guess Ancestral in the end step, though it's going to be hard to get these cards out of my hand. I have 2 lands that don't cast Moxen right now, or don't cast Time Walk right now. Archive, Mana Crypt. I do have the Chain of Vapor in my hand. That could buy 1 important turn versus Vexing Bauble to dump out a little bit. What does dumping out even look like here? I could Crypt, Time Walk, PO for 1. That doesn't even sound good. But I think I am going to need a burst of mana to get through this game. I'll put Crypt on top of the deck. And unfortunately have to discard 2 cards to hand size right now. One of them's going to be Force of Will. Oh, and they're going to make a construct. Yeah, that's legal. I discard 1 Force of Will for sure, and it's probably just the other force, but I do need my stuff to work on the turn that Vexing Bauble's out. All right, 2 Force of Wills discarded. They can't make a second construct, and they've already tutored Vexing Bauble. Okay, I could counter this trigger, and they might be getting something like Black Lotus to cast a powerful spell from their hand. I'm going to try to Diamond Hands this and counter the payoff. They did tutor Lotus. All right. I could take my time here. I think I will actually take my time here, which might seem strange. But if they counter my Chain of Vapor using Black Lotus mana, I'm in quite a bit of trouble. So I'd rather protect this. It's more important that this works when it works than that anything happens quickly. All right, I take another 5. I'm down to 9. Okay, I think this is when I make my move. Chain of Vapor, that Vexing Bauble. They don't have any lands to copy it, and I don't have any non-land permanents to bounce if they did. They could just draw a card off it with Mox Jet and bet into my turn. Yeah, okay. That's fine. If it's gone, it's gone. I'll take it. This would be a great turn to draw a Mox. Any Mox. A PO, kind of mid. All right, Mana Crypt. Time Walk. And I might as well buy Luris. I'm not spending this mana on anything else. And then go into my walk turn. Come on, Black Lotus. Another Fluster. This sucks. I don't even have cards to play with Luris in my graveyard. I could just put Luris into play and pass the turn. I could also PO for 1. I guess I'll try that. I do need blue mana to do that. Vexing Bauble of my own. All right, Mana Crypt. Redeploy that. Play Bauble. Now Academy's good for 2. They attack me for 4, and then I take 3. I'm not dead yet. All right. We've got another turn, and now I have something I can loop with Luris. So Mana Crypt is pretty dangerous. I can cast 2 different interactive spells without cracking the Bauble. They can't add Mox into the board and make Construct bigger. They also can't really combo off. What a weird game. They found a land. Tezzeret the Cap. I think I want to just consign this once without replicate, because I'd like to protect it with Flusterstorm or hit their follow-up with Flusterstorm if there is a follow-up. Okay, so that costs them their Lotus, which makes Construct smaller, which might buy me a turn. All right, it's my turn again. I won my flip. Stock up, okay. A card worth casting. All right, stock up. We'll start there. Wowie zowie. Big fat grip of mana here, including the Black Lotus that can go with this Luris. I'll take Black Lotus and Mox Opal. And then I'm going to crack Vexing Bauble, which unlocks their hand, but also unlocks my hand. Opal first. This gives me more mana with Academy. Blue, 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 red, white, white, white. Let's get Luris in. There's a Force of Will. Here's the first of many Flusterstorms that I have available. All right, Luris resolves. This will redeploy Black Lotus. And then I could stock up to try to hit mana. I could stock up to try to hit a wizard. That's interesting. I could also just PO. PO is for 3 because I have to sack the Lotus. 1 mana short of where I really want to be here. All right, I'll go. I could just stock up with my floating mana. No, I'm gonna PO. Hold on. Should I sack that for white? Because then if I hit, or no, I can replay Luris for sure. All right. I'll sack that for white. That's how this works. 1, 2, 3. I guess that wasn't guaranteed, and I didn't whiff, but it was not guaranteed. Oops. Normal stuff. I know how to play Vintage. I do like this Scalding Tarn. Fetch, that gets Luris back on the stack. Mana Crypt, white, colorless. Replay Luris, which gets me another Black Lotus. Mox Opal is back on now. And I don't have a Mana Crypt, so I can't just die. Lavinia should make it hard for them to play the game. And I'm going to pass with Flusterstorm. Oh shit, Mana Crypt is in play. What am I even talking about? All right, well, I can block with Luris. Jesus Christ. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I'll be honest, my wife is texting me right now. She's like asking me where the Dropbox is at the post office and just like random questions while I'm trying to navigate this Vintage game. That's why I'm confused. Okay, I have 2 blockers for Construct. As long as I'm not at literally 3 life going into their turn, this is okay. Academy. That is the good card. They can still only cast spells that have mana value 2 or less. I will trade Luris for this, by the way. Luris got me out of the crap hole of the Mana Crypt versus Construct Beatdown. It was worth a bunch of mana, drew a card, and now it put me where I need to be to take over the game. So I am fine with Luris going away there. We've seen Opposition Agent. I guess I should respect it a little bit. Urza Saga. Stock up. Wow, those are good cards. All right, all bangers. Paradoxical Outcome. Yeah, that one's quite nice. And I guess I want Pyroblast, or do I want Merchant Scroll to send it again? I already have this Flusterstorm. This is about how do I not lose more than it is about how do I win. Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to win as long as I don't mess up. I will take the Pyroblast. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. PO leaving red floating. I'm not going to bounce Lavinia. That one is important. Okay, they don't want to play anymore. They've had enough. Cool. All right, a little sloppy execution that last turn, I think, or I lost track of my Mana Crypt at least, but I was far enough ahead that it didn't matter. But navigating through that early Vexing Bauble on a mediocre hand, I love the land count in this deck. Like, even when someone Vexing Baubles or Null Rods you can still just hit land drops and grind out of it with cards like Stock Up and Flame of Manor. On to the next round.
This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and everything else you'll see on this channel. There's multiple customizations so you can interact with your deck how you want. Views such as text, grid, or stacks, and groupings like type, subtype, color, color identity, even artist. The site offers light mode, dark mode, and so much more. However you want to see your deck, Moxfield can provide it for you. Follow my Mox Field to keep up with the channel and what I'm playing in paper. I'll see you there.
I'm on the draw in round 3. My opponent has not revealed a Lurrus. I have Force Blue card and a ton of mana, but my hand doesn't do anything yet. If I don't have to pitch the Lorien Revealed, my hand casts it pretty quickly. I'm going to keep... And part of the appeal of this PO deck these days is PO, Thundertrap Trainer, stock up, Flame of Anor. You just have so many banger draws that if you have a butt ton of mana, you can work on. Like, you can roll the dice on, I have a lot of mana, and hope that the deck will produce something to do with it. I briefly considered countering that Black Lotus, but instead I did not. Okay, Soporific Springs tapped both gives me information about their deck and tells me about their plan, which is they're not ready to go. And this is really exciting. This is just like a completely layup opportunity to portable hold their Black Lotus after they didn't do anything for a whole turn cycle. They're showing Hardcast Force here. I mean, I'll target this Lotus. They'll sack it in response. Oh, wow. All right, well. Or they could leave it there for me to enjoy. If they deal with my portable hold, they get their Lotus back. If they're not a deck that can do anything else. All right, I'll buy Lurrus with my extra mana, since I've got it. So Jewel Shop is what I primarily think I'm playing against right now. All right, the Pearl, a Valk, and I will cast this Lorien Revealed. I don't have enough blue floating to do anything else, but here I am. Like I said, combo control. We just take our time, set up, trust that the deck will deliver something to do with all this mana. All right, they just don't want to play anymore. Yeah, that was a weird game. I think I'm against Jewel Shops. Against them, I want Lavinia, Consign, and Force of Negation for sure. Pyroblast hits some stuff, but misses some other stuff. Flusterstorm hits some stuff, but misses other stuff. I think Pyroblast is... Flusterstorm's definitely worse than all these sideboard cards. And then whether I think Pyroblast is better or worse than Flusterstorm is interesting. There's not a lot of 1-drops in Jewel Shops. I think Vexing Bauble's okay. I like all of my speed. I do kind of like having even more ability to combo. I don't need my island. That buys me a Pyroblast. Portable Hull can randomly be useful, as we just saw. Especially if they dump their Time Vault out early. Gitaxian Probe is a maybe. Chain of Vapors a maybe. I think one Pyroblast is a good place to start. The blue cards in their deck are Paradoxical Outcome, Phyrexian Metamorph, and their own counterspells, plus the power, Ancestral, and Time Walk. That's kind of a good list. Chain of Vapor could set back a One Ring or Karn kind of situation. Yeah, it's also blue for my 5 forces. I'm not going to cut that. I could cut the Demonic Tutor for a Pyroblast if I'm not really about speed and I'm more about stability. Yeah, I don't think I have room for this third Pyroblast. Right, Force blue card and nothing. Like, not even a Lorien Revealed, though given the matchup, I think I do want to at least survive the first Force check. And again, trusting the deck to deliver on card quality when I have 6 mana on turn 1. Unfortunately, these aren't the Moxen that make double blue, so I'm not holding up Hardcast Force if I get a turn. Saga Pass. I am either operating incorrectly about what my opponent's doing, or they're keeping very strange hands for Jewel Shops. A Tundra, Ruby, Pearl. I think I want to just buy Lurrus here. Fetching the Surveillant would have been kind of interesting there. I could have also, I could have passed with 7 mana available next turn and gotten a Surveil, or I could get Lurrus in the mix. All right, they're just Saga gaming. It's very strange. Flame of Anor. Okay. That's one of the payoffs my deck has. I'm going to go Misty Rainforest, Mana Vault, and just pass. I have Force blue card, Force blue card. I could hardcast Force, I could cast Flame of Anor, and do a Force. I can sink into Stupor and Flame of Anor, these 2 constructs. I'm not worried about dying to them. I also have Lurrus, and her lifelink is relevant there. Okay, just floating here. I'll fetch in response. I don't think they're going to get Pithing Needle, but I don't want to find out. I have to get Tundra here. I don't have room to Surveil if I still want to cast my interaction. Vexing Bauble. Okay. That card's a lot less effective when I already have 7 mana in play. The Construct is attacking me. You got me. Sometimes this deck plays Hull Breacher. I'm just going to try to bounce this Construct in the end step and see what they want to do about that. All right, I'm now under 0 pressure. Underground Sea. Now I can Force and Flame. Yeah, I'm just going to chill. Hull Breacher, my goodness. Who could have predicted this? All right, I'm going to kill that with Flame of Enor. Deal 5 to target creature. Opponent can't interact here because of Vexing Bauble. Right, that's gone, and I still have Hardcast, Force of Will, or Negation available. And they don't seem to have follow-up. Cool. Alright, I guess I want to add Lurrus now. I found another land. White, red, black. I don't like Lurrus with no action, but if my opponent's doing nothing, I don't want to get teed off on by Hull Breachers either. Alright. I'm not going to fight that thing. Lurrus washes it out in combat. Like, they'll probably just trade it for Lurrus next turn. And I'm not drawing cards anyway. What I don't want to happen is I use my Precious Force on that, then they jam Coveted Jewel and win. Ooh, busting off that Vexing Bauble. Change their mind? Maybe. Grim Monolith resolves. This looks like Kappa Cannoneer. They tapped Grim Monolith and Vexing Bauble, but Vexing Bauble hasn't gone to the graveyard and all their mana went away. Yeah, I think they have Kappa Cannoneer, not... I don't think they're planning on cracking this Bauble. They've realized they have access to Kappa without tapping the Bauble. Or 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What just happened? Why did they pay 7 for this? You don't have to. I don't know what just happened, but I'm going to Force of Will this. And seeing that Kappa's in their sideboard makes Pyroblast in my sideboard even more valuable. Like the Kappa and Hull Breacher. Sometimes these decks do just go onto this blue creature beatdown plan out of the board. Alright, I actually do want to untap my Mana Vault here, because this game is going real slow. And pass. The Kappa's a little scary. Alright, looks like they have another one. Alright, still capping. Slightly nervous now. They have an actual clock in play. Normally, Jewel Shops pivots onto this versus Null Rod decks, and as PO Breach, I can't possibly play Null Rod. Stock up, let's go. Alright, that gets me moving forward despite the Hull Breacher. 1, 2... Probably want to tap Underground Sea before I tap Mox Ruby. Yeah, I have a lot of white. Alright, stock up. Pyroblast Tolarian Academy. That's a lot of juice. Merchant Scroll. I could just PO here, but I can't put my Moxen back down afterwards. You can also play Breach every turn with Lurrus and loop that graveyard like crazy. If I take Breach and Merchant Scroll, I could get Brain Freeze, but then the Vexing Bauble is still a problem. I do have Flame of Enor in my graveyard. I can easily pay the ward and just kill Kappa Cannoneer. Are there any other exciting instants in my deck? Not really. Most of them require me to remove Hull Breacher first, which Pyroblast does. Right, I'm definitely taking Pyroblast, and then I think Academy, Force, and Breach are all reasonable second choices. Maybe not Academy, I have plenty of mana. Alright, I'm taking Breach. Pyroblast Breach. And I think I'm just going to pass. I'd rather fight on their turn and then untap into some juice. I also don't need to worry about Kappa until it's lethal. Like if they attack with Kappa, then I blast Hull Breacher in the end step, then untap, regain my 3 life, and I'm allowed to draw cards. That's a game I can win. My opponent is at 6 from all these Ancient Tombs. Yeah, I think my plan is take a hit from Kappa, untap, Breach, value. Can they resist attacking, I guess is the question. Okay, yeah, they are in the slow chill mode. I'm still going to Pyroblast this Hull Breacher. It's got to go. All right, cracking the Bauble in response. That unlocks my Breach lines completely and my POs. Force pitching Sink into Stupor. Hardcast Force of Negation on that. And Hull Breacher's dead, and they're not showing blue to play another Hull Breacher. Oi, oi, oi. Alright, I'll Ancestral myself. Mana Crypt. another breach. I can breach Pyroblast, attack them to 2, then their only mana is Otawara. Alright. Underworld Breach. Pyroblast. Destroy target blue permanent. Alright, they don't want to play anymore. Cool. Yeah, this creature pivot is something that Jewel Shops is capable of. I'm a little surprised they took the pivot versus a combo deck. Normally that's for null rod strategies, but again, look at all these lands, all this mana. It's turn 7, and this game was really just kind of nickel and dime. What could go wrong here? Play around it. Don't ram Flame of Anor. I think the most important turn in this game was the one where I didn't ram Flame of Anor into Hull Breacher. Like, I had mana up in their end step and just didn't try to draw 2 cards. I think that turn would have swung it if I had played it differently. The march continues next round. The BoshNRoll channel is proudly partnered with the Resleevables. In this YouTube series, hosts Patrick Sullivan and Patrick Chapin go set by set through Magic's past, leveraging their decades of experience as Pro Tour players and game designers to analyze the good, the bad, and the ugly of Magic's history. Each episode is a deep dive into the facts, mechanics, cycles, trivia, decks of the time, and historical context of the set. The hosts dig into notable cards of the era and their lasting impact today. Each set gets an award show where the hosts pick their favorite cards for categories such as Best, Worst, and Weirdest. And finally, give a letter grade for the set's overall success. Whether you want a history lesson or a nostalgia hit, The Resleevables has it at youtube.com/theresleevables. I'm on the draw in round 4 against a Lurrus deck. I have a full send with Force backup. I am going to keep my hand. This is a turn 1 PO for 3 at minimum, and then we'll see where we go. These are the type of hands you dream of on the play, but on the draw they get a little spooky. I mean, that's just play, draw, and Magic. It's nothing to do with this deck or this format or anything. The one thing in the format that would really matter is White Initiative, but they're Lurrus, so they can't be that. But this is a hand that I think beats White Initiative 99% of the time on the play, and it gets a lot worse on the draw. I am interested to see how this Underworld Breach pans out in this hand, because right now, I kind of wish that was just like any blue card or something else. But if I hit 1 or 2 extra mana on this Paradoxical outcome, then Breach represents outcome in the near future. My opponent's on a mull of 5. All right, I am going to go buck here. Do I want to play around Flusterstorm, I guess is the question. Flusterstorm is common in main decks right now. I think I might try this PO on their end step. Like, my opponent mulled a 5, and I'm starting with 6 mana in play, and the ability to draw 4 cards at instant speed. Like, figure it out, I guess. I'll make this your problem for now. Underground Sea. Interesting that wasn't a Surveil land. Saga. Alright, if this is Lurrus control, I have to think about counterspells and Orcish Bowmaster. A Flusterstorm is still pretty annoying. If I untap, they can't fluster, because I can just pay the 2. Alright, I'll go to my turn. On their turn, they can't force a negation. Okay, this land, normally I don't play lands if I could hit Academy, but I think I win the game if this outcome resolves, and I'm not in a particular hurry to make that happen, as long as it happens reliably. Okay, Orcish Bowmaster confirmed. I'm gonna fetch a Volcanic Island, and then I shouldn't have done that. I should have waited till their turn. Yeah, this can resolve, it's fine. I'll flame it at the end step. Yeah, I messed that up. I should have just left my fetch uncracked. Like, I'm not going to PO in my own end step and discard 5 cards. I do have to get some action going soon, because this Urza Saga represents Hexing Bauble next turn. Right, an attack. I'll take the 2. 3 mana now represents Force of Negation on the cast. 5 to Bowmaster in the end step. I don't have Force backup now. And this is one of those games that might haunt you over time, where it's like, man, if I just sent it, I would have won on turn 1. but if I draw any blue card here, it's fine. Breach is approaching where it's useful. They just brainstormed in response to this flame, like, that is not someone who has Force of Negation available. Okay, I lost my flip. If I go for it here and they have Force, that stinks, I guess. Okay, well, we're past the point where I can not go for it. Bowmaster is fine. Like, I take some damage, then I go nuts. And maybe if that's how I felt about it, I shouldn't have bothered to fight their Bowmaster. Force of Negation, pitching Time Twister. Force of Negation specifically is really good there, as now I can't breach that. Okay. Making a construct here is aggressive, but I guess if they think their job is to get me dead, it makes sense. Vexing Bauble, no surprise there. Wasteland, that's mostly fine. If I were my opponent, I don't even think I would Wasteland here. I'd save it for an Academy or a Saga, or something that casts Lyris, maybe. I won my crypt flip. Sick. Lyris is operational. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Lyris on the stack. I can force something if I have to. On the hard. On the hard. Do we like when I say that? Is that a good way to communicate what I mean? Wasteland can take me off Force of Will. They might have the incorrect read that I don't have Force because I didn't force their Force, but I do have Force, I just don't have a blue card. 2 Wastelands. That's a lot of that. The Wastelands are really interesting because if I get some material in the graveyard, I could breach Flame of Anor. They don't really have attacks here. If they attack with Construct, then I crack back with Lyris. And if they attack with Orc Army, I just block. Want another crypt flip, another Force in my hand. Deck, I really have enough of these. It's okay. Okay, I'll pass. The Mana Crypt is the thing making this game challenging right now. I actually think I'm ahead here, but it's not by much. I mean, and it has everything to do with deck building more than the actual position on the board. Force of Will. I'll tap the lands before they can waste them. I am 1 mana short if they crack their Bauble and force back. Like, they would have to draw either Force or blue card to get to that point. Now their Lyris is gone and mine isn't. As long as Mana Crypt and the top of my deck don't betray me, I like my spot. All right, 3 crypt flips in a row and a PO. Skadoosh. All right. I'm just going to send this shit. I know I can't replay a lot of these, but my deck has a ton of answers to Vexing Bauble in it, and the draw 5 in this position is something I can game with. Soul Ring is the one I'm allowed to replay. There's a Chain of Vapor right there. We like Chain of Vapor. All right, I'm going to bounce this Vexing Bauble, and I guess I don't need to do that yet. I could Thunder Trap Trainer, see where we end up. All right, I'm going to start with one of those. Flame of Anor. Hello, hello. That's way better than Chain of Vapor was going to be. I'll take Flame. I'm now wizarded. Red, blue, 2 colorless, Flame with 2 modes. Destroy Vexing Bauble and Construct. They'll draw a card with Construct in response, but as long as Vexing Bauble's gone, it doesn't matter. Like, they could force this now, it doesn't matter. The 1/1's not what I was going for. All right, coast is clear. Here comes everything. Lyris is washing out Mana Crypt now. I'm not worried about it. Opal. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the correct number to Trainer Conqueso. And that'll do. Cool. All right, I played around Flusterstorm when I had Forces beat, which, maybe isn't the best. Like, there are more Forces than Flusterstorms in the deck, but on a mold of 5, they'd probably try to keep 1-for-1s over 2-for-1s where they can. Yeah, that's interesting. That's one I'll think about in the future. Okay. I have a bunch of cards that are moderately useful versus my opponent. This is where Breach Package matters. So this is a deck with a ton of counters. They're going to have Null Rods after board if they weren't in the main. I don't think I can really go 0 PO, but maybe with the Breach Package I can. Like, do I just become Jeskai Breach and not even mess around with this? Demonic Tutor versus the Wasteland All Red deck. I don't even like Demonic Tutor in the list. I'd probably just cut it, honestly. Even though I understand that now we have even more combo to look for. That fact is not lost on me, but I'm still not a big fan. This deck does ultimately win with creatures, so having 6 point-and-click removal spells with the holes and plows is nice. The Pyroblast kill Psychic Frog and help me win Counter Wars. And do I need all my forces in, even, if I'm not trying to be this guy? The Paradoxical Outcome guy? I could even bring in my own Lavinia. Soul Guide Lantern is useful versus their Aluris and their Delve spells, but no. Alright. I am going to try this ultra-controlling Jeskai Breach take on the build. I have no idea if this is what other people are doing, but it makes sense to me in this matchup. Breach is the lowest resource combo deck compared to PO, and if we're expecting to play a low resource game versus an opponent like this, it checks my box. It passes my sniff test. Just out here sniffing magic cards. Yeah, that smells good. I'm keeping my hand. It's a little weird, but it has a bunch of mana. Force blue card. The Bauble's a redraw. The Bauble's a Luris payout. And speedrunning Luris might be what this hand does. A Pearl. I don't want to force this with Pyroblast in my hand, but wow, is it good. Because I don't have red mana. Okay, we got that counter war over with. Alright, there I am with my red mana right away. Mishra's Bauble, tell me what you see. Psychic Frog, okay. I can answer that later, so I'd rather archive now. Flusterstorm, that could protect Luris next turn. Alright, yeah, I'll take Flusterstorm. Mana Crypt, Mox Sapphire, buy Luris. I draw Flusterstorm here. They need a mana to play Psychic Frog because Mox Pearl doesn't cast it. I let on the archive because I'd rather have white wasted than red with this Pyroblast in my hand, knowing they have Psychic Frog. I am a mana away from casting Luris of the correct colors, but I do have blue Mox to back her up when I go for it. TT, yikes. Alright, they're just going to fire an Ancestral while the shields are down, probably. Yep, alright. That's going to work. That does tap them out, though. And it does not add Psychic Frog to the board. Okay, a land that casts my spells would be great. Impossible. Alright. I will pass. That might have been a main phase Flame of an Ore situation. Because if they have land here and can Psychic Frog, pass, represent Bowmaster. Yeah, maybe I'm just supposed to draw cards there. And leave Flusterstorm up. An opponent's playing Drago with me as well. Alright, I'm going to end step Flame to draw 2 cards. This beats Fluster or Spell Pierce. If they have Bowmaster, fine, I'll take some damage. If they force this, okay. It's worth 2 cards in either direction. Yeah, this could have been avoided. If this Orc army ends up killing me, that is completely my fault. Alright. There is multiple answers to the Bowmaster. That is the sideboard plan that I went for. I'm going to continue playing around Spell Pierce where I can. Scalding Tarn. Alright. That could develop Luris, which, if Luris is in, I care way less about the Bowmaster. I think I'm going to plow Bowmaster right now, while I have the most information to work with. I have the most resources, they have the least. Once they untap, they'll have twice as much mana as they have now. I have 2 soft counters. I could portable hole this Orc army. I know they have Psychic Frog over there. I'm kind of got by Wasteland regardless, so I will play out the hole. Bring myself back down to 0 pressure. Just working my way towards Luris. Mana Crypt again chewing me up. Wasteland's bad news, most other things are okay. A second Bowmaster wouldn't be great either. I fetched Underground Sea in the end step, didn't do anything with it. Psychic Frog is back. Versus Saga, that's a twist. Alright, I think Luris resolving is step 1. I'm not going to Pyroblast the Frog in the end step. I'll go to my turn, put Luris on the stack with 2 layers of protection. Alright, they bought their own Luris. Tapping out, being honest. I like it. Okay, would I rather have more mana then? Alright, with them tapped out, I am going to destroy Psychic Frog now. Though they can just replay that with Luris. That didn't make any sense. Ooh. Force Pitching Probe. Great. Alright, if you're worried about that, let's fight it out. And their Luris is way better than mine here, because they have Lavinia and Psychic Frog in the graveyard. Brain freeze. Interesting. White, white, colorless. Luris on the stack. Please don't counter it. I could brain freeze myself for 6 here. Try to high roll something better than Mishra's Bauble to replay with Luris. Or I could just draw extra cards. Alright, I'll take the extra card now. Bauble U. Flooded Strand is there. Now Brain Freeze is good for an extra 3 cards. I could Brain Freeze myself, try to hit Breach right now. Alright, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to aggressively set up here. I am behind. Flusterstorm, Ancestral. Alright, I hit a bunch of stuff that Luris does not redeploy. But I am loaded up if Breach were to appear. Swords to Plowshares deals with their Luris. My concern is if my Luris dies right now. Did they think they were turn forward on that? They just floated mana in their upkeep with Urza Saga, and then it went to Chapter 2. That's awkward. And Vexing Bauble and Soul Guide Lantern are both insane against me here. Swords to Plowshares is insane against me here. I'm by the skin of my ass. Luris Lavinia is a line my opponent has access to here, which would turn off Breach lines, but I have the Plow for Lavinia. Yeah, there's Luris. That was a tough brain freeze. 9 cards, didn't even see a Mox. It's literally no permanence. I know I'm mostly a spell deck, but tough beat. Okay, they went with Frog instead of Lavinia. What does that mean for me? Probably mostly good news. All right, Underworld Breach off the top. Wait, what's happening in my upkeep? Why would we Swords to Plowshares now? All right, this is not when you're supposed to do that, but I mean, having Plow at all here is fine. All right, now I'm pretty fucked. I'm actually going to Plow Psychic Frog, not Luris. Because Luris only has Lavinia in the graveyard, which is good, of course, but it's not card advantage. And I'll play the Ruby, because if they get Vexing Bauble or play Lavinia next turn, I'm in bad shape. Alright, F6. Breach off the top could still do it. I have enough mana to Breach, Plow Lavinia off of the Breach. And if they have Soul Guide Lantern in, which I don't know why they would, unless they suspected I was Breach all along, but you don't have Soul Guide Lantern in versus PO, that doesn't make sense. If they have Vexing Bauble and Lavinia, which is also a good chance of both those things happening, that's tough. Bauble drawing extra cards with Luris. I mean, I'm just behind here. I need a good rip. Nile Spellbomb, okay. That one cantrips reliably. That makes some sense to have access to. I don't think I can really win anymore. With Luris gone and the Spellbomb stopping Breach lines, what am I even playing towards? Yeah, notice I'm out of resources and they have exactly 3 cards. The Spellbomb they just played and 2 left in hand. That's that turn where they snuck the Ancestral through my interaction, where otherwise this game would be close and interesting, but I just got Ancestraled at one point, and now, 4 turns later, we're losing for it. Stock up. All right, we're dead. Okay, I don't think I like that experiment. I want some POs in my deck. At least a couple. Knowing they have Nile Spellbomb, I actually want to get off the Breach line and back onto PO. And the reason for that is the Nile Spellbomb is so good versus Breach, because even if I can remove it, they can pop it in response and exile everything that was there up to that point, and then I have to get 3, 6, 9 cards, etc. back in. And if my Lotus is ever just sitting in the graveyard, then I can't combo. There's a Lotus Petal in this list that maybe I could live without if I'm going a little slower. Is that worse than Opal? I think Opal's probably better than Petal, if I'm doing one or the other. This Lavinia is tempting. Right, if I'm doing PO stuff, do I want Force of Will back after all? They are a Wasteland deck where I want my Lorien revealed. I could go 1 fewer Plow to balance that out now that I'm on the aggro. All right, I'll try that. Okay, so they saw Brain Freeze, which means they should suspect Breach. And now that's just not part of my deck. Trying to keep my opponent off balance. All right, slow and steady hand. Not sexy, but it is the type of thing that works against a matchup like this one. Opponent is somehow also at 9 minutes on their clock to my 16. I did not notice how much longer they were taking, but a win con, potentially. What I would really like to do here is play Tundra, and that way I can portable Hole on turn 1 and still develop Urza Saga. But I think to play around Wasteland the best, I have to just play this island. And if they have a turn 1 Lavinia or Frog, I'll just hole it and wait on my Saga. Sapphire. Ooh, I like that one. I'm going to develop a Thundertrap Trainer this turn, though. If they're holding Bowmaster, which is the most obvious thing represented by this mana, then I don't want to just Ancestral into that. I could have just passed, like Urza Saga pass, make them do something Ancestral if they ever do. But Thundertrap Trainer also gets the wheel spinning. And if this hits a Mox, we're in business anyway. My goodness, Orcish Bowmaster. We're in. I guess I'll take this Swords to Plowshares. I already have an answer to Bowmaster, but I don't think Flame of Anor when I don't have mana is useful. I just gotta hope they don't have land Time Twister, I guess. I don't like the Time Twister plan versus combo decks when I'm Dimir or Esper or Dimir Lurrus, the Lurrus control decks. My build doesn't have the Time Twister at all. I just don't think it's good versus most matchups. And if you're twisting PO, you better damn hope you have the Bowmaster to line up with it. I mean, they have 2 of the 5 pieces of power their deck plays so far. Do you have a third? Time Twister would be 7 plus 5. That would be 13 damage. All right, they just bought Lurrus. Cool. Yeah, the Wasteland's annoying, but whatever. I was prepared for that possibility. Vexing Bauble. Right, Portable Hole. I'll take that Bowmaster. It's better, like, knowing that they have Lurrus in their hand, I just want to exile things, and Portable Hole can't take Lurrus, but Swords of Plowshares can. Alright, I'm dropping out Vexing Bauble. I'm ahead right now. If they do resolve Lurrus, which they will, at least Mishra's Bauble's not a thing they can refire on it, and then I'll know my Plow will resolve next turn. Psychic Frog, okay. They do know about the Swords to Plowshares. Soul Ring, hell yeah. Okay, Volcanic Island, Swords to Plowshares. I don't mind Lurrus if there's nothing in the graveyard it can get. Soul Ring. I can play around Spell Pierce and Flusterstorm by playing Thundertrap Trainer instead of Stock Up right now. So I will. A Fluster or Pyro would be great. Flame of Anor is also great. Paradoxical Outcome is also great. I think I want Flame. I already have 2 Stock Ups in my hand, which is enough gas. Just want to make sure I don't lose to some Lavinia or Lurrus or Bowmaster type mess. A Wasteland. They could take me off red. I will float the red. Make you think about it. Think about Pyroblast. Lurrus is not Pyroblastable anyway. Okay, it's time for the Stock Up parade. If I find a red anywhere along the chain, we go apeshit. Stock Up. There is Scalding Tarn and Mox Ruby. Mox Ruby doesn't help with my own Bauble in play. Scalding Tarn, I guess it's Swords to Plowshares. Just cover the next space as well. A fetch. Volcanic Island. Now, do I want to draw or do I want to restrict them? I think I want to restrict them. I'm going to destroy Mox Sapphire and deal 5 to Lurrus. Again, my Lurrus is still in exile. I haven't even gone down that road yet. I still have a Stock Up in my hand. As long as I don't throw this away somehow, or let them wiggle back in somehow, this game is mine to lose. I have Portable Hole, I don't even care about Null Rod, and there it is, yeah. Which also turns off their Mox Jet, so now they have to beat me on 1 mana when I have more power in play than them. Alright, I'll Stock Up again. Keep them coming. Alright, 2 more trainers, a Flusterstorm, and a Stock Up. I'm going to take... It might just be 2 trainers. I'm going to take 2 trainers, yeah. And I'll keep chipping in for my damage. And this is the type of game where... This is why I'm thinking about PO more seriously than I'm thinking about Lurrus Control for Eternal Weekend. Because Null Rod is your best weapon, and I've played a bunch of games recently where I stick the Null Rod and I'm like, haha, but then they have more lands than me, more creatures than me, more cards in hand than me, and I'm like, what did I even just do? What game was I playing? Alright, I actually do want a bunch of mana here, and with that Strip Mine, I might not have white to cast this Portable Hole again in the future. I'll take the Null Rod. 1, 2, 3, Thundertrap Trainer with 1 floating. And the third Thundertrap Trainer was enough for them. Cool. Just taking my time, getting control. And we are 4-0. Got a trophy match coming. We're a few rounds into the video. If you're still here and having fun, remember to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to play what I'm playing, use code BOSH for 5% off your order at toamagic.com. Eternal lives here. I'm on the draw in the final trophy round. My hand has a lot of mana. It is Shields down. Against a non-Lurrus, this could be White Initiative, where my hand's kind of bad. I think I'm going to keep... I'm not going to mulligan like their White Initiative all the time. And if they are a deck that needs like a Soul Ring or a Mana Vault to function, Mental Misstep lines up. By the way, my last round opponent sent me a nice message that I didn't see until after they had logged off Magic Online, that I helped get them into Eternal formats, and I love hearing that. Thank you so much. Sorry I missed your message. All right, well, does the misstep hold up? Wowie, okay. So, Tropical Island, no Lurrus. This could just be normal mid-range bug. I think I'm just gonna be in the trap here for a minute. Thundertrap Trainer, see what it gets. If they had Daze, they would have resolved Ancestral Recall. I'm not playing around that. Force of Will and Demonic Tutor. Forest Pitching Brain Freeze cuts off one of my win conditions, but it does keep my shields sky high. I guess I can play around Mindbreak Trap, and we have seen that in a main deck of a blue deck in this league already, so I will. Soporific Springs alongside Tropical Island. I don't know what this deck is. Null Rod. Well, I don't want to play against that card. Okay. I can just resolve Lurrus here, or I could go for Ancestral. I think Ancestral is the way to go. Scroll, Ancestral Recall. If they have Daze, Force, or Mental Misstep, they just drew it. Alright, I'm going to play Black Lotus. Mindbreak Trap me, I guess, but holding up this Flusterstorm is pretty decent. Next turn, I can play Lurrus with Flusterstorm Protection, rebuy the Black Lotus, Time Walk, go again. Ponder. Is this just Oath of Druids, and they happen to draw Soporific Springs? Shuffled their Ponder. Okay, it is Oath. Cool. Good to know. I don't love my position if they cast an Oath here. Alright. Well, hard mode activate. I'm going to have to storm them out. This is a good matchup, but we're behind right now because I'm on the fair end of things. Force of Will, thanks for showing up. Okay, so Flooded Strand, buy Lurrus, play Lurrus. I'm not playing around anything here. I'm just sinking all the way into this Oath of Druids and trying to bash through it. Fetch for Volcanic Island. And then I'm going to go blue, Time Walk. And with the extra blue, Thundertrap Trainer, trying to hit a PO, a stock up, something that can turn the corner here. Stock up, I'll take. And I've got a Time Walk coming. There's a Chain of Vapor in my deck. There's a portable hole in my deck. Ugh. Get in my pee hole. Decks that just see this many cards are so nice. Lotus in play, stock up. Underworld Breach doesn't matter. Well, I can still value Breach. I guess I want Force of Will and Underworld Breach. That's still like 3 Ancestral Recalls. Even though the Brain Freeze was pitched already. Attack with everybody. And how many Time Walks can I cast right now? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards in my graveyard. If I Black Lotus, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm 1 damage short. Black Lotus casts. Alright, whatever. Let's do it. Underworld Breach, Black Lotus, exile 3 Stinkers, make blue, cast Time Walk. Alright, I'll take 1 extra turn after this. Alright, cool. Might not have even had to exile that Oath if I was able to take all those turns in a row. Okay, Oath of Druids. My old favorite. I wish combo in the metagame would chill so I can play that more often. A portable hole can answer Null Rod and Oath, which are 2 of the most important cards in their deck. There's not much I care about. Like, I'm just pre-built to beat up on Oath. Oath's biggest weakness is faster combo decks, and I am 2 faster combo decks than them. I'm both PO and Breach. I don't need my basic island. I'll go +1 portable hole, and other than that, I'm not making any changes. Oh, this hand is a mana away from me being happy with it. I'm on the draw with Cataxian Probe. No, I can do way better. Oh no. This is worse, in fact. Okay, 5 cards. First really catastrophic mulligan I've experienced in this league. But the good news is my hand's busted. All right, I'm going to get rid of Flame of Anor and either land or Thunder Trap. This is really close. If my opponent has like turn 1 Null Rod. All right, I can't play around turn 1 Null Rod. All this hand does is send. Forbidden Orchard. They could have Pyroblast, I suppose. Well, that's a little bit of insulation. All right, Mox Opal. Play that one first. Mana Crypt. Force of Vigor is a card they could have. Ooh, Force of Negation pitching Oko. They had a strong read there, and their read is correct. If this gets Mindbreak trapped. Okay, wow. All right. Look at me with nothing here. Normally you lead on Opal first to play around Force of Vigor, but I think if I had led on anything else first, that would not have happened. Like if I had led on the Sapphire, I could at least cycle Lorien there. This is blue mana, not green. Null Rod. Okay. I mean, why fight over all those artifacts? They must have just drawn Null Rod. That's the only thing that makes sense there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Guess who's back in it? I see that Wasteland. I'm not worried about it. Not yet. All right. Don't play Oath of Druids, I guess, is what I need from my opponent here. And I wonder if this is the Rug Wrenn and 6 Planeswalker build of Oath, because Wasteland is not in Show and Tell Oath. They have one Strip Mine to deal with problems like Caracas, but for the most part, that is not what they're doing. Gaia's Blessing, targeting some stuff. All right. Yeah, their hand is bad. Good news, everyone. I need their hand to be bad. And they're experiencing the Oath experience, which I have beheld many times in my life, which is your only mana is Forbidden Orchard, and even though nothing's really happening in the game, you've fed your opponent multiple ways to beat you. All right, Thunder Trap Trainer. If I find like a Force of Will here, I'll feel great. Force of Will confirmed. Yeah, they have Null Rod and Chalice on 0, which heavily restricts my ability to do anything other than attack them with the spirits they gave me. But they are hellbent and got nothing going on versus my Force. They can't even really afford to wasteland me because then all their mana, even the colorless mana, has to come from Orchard. Yeah, this Chalice of the Void Wasteland build of Oath is really interesting. I kind of hope I get to see more of it. And I'll float a blue. Did decide to wasteland me after all. Rain Freeze. Yeah, if somebody can figure out how to beat fast combo with Oath, I'm interested. And maybe cards like Chalice of the Void is how it happens. All right, we are tapping more things. Their last 3 draws in a row been Oath Force blue card, because if so, holy guacamole. I'm kind of rooting for them. Oh my god, just 3 draws in a row. Oath Force blue card. All right, good chance they win this game, actually. My wish to see more of their deck might be punished. Oh shit, no it's not. GG. That's so funny. Well, I mean, interaction for random stuff. Cheap interaction for random stuff wins games. They can't afford to sack there, and they can't afford not to. I don't know what it would take to win this game at this point. Their own Null Rod and Chalice locked them out of a lot of the upper end stuff. Oh, okay. Well, I was convinced not to experiment with Oath for Eternal Weekend by that game. No offense to my opponent. That was just tough beat. Here we go. Another trophy, another vintage league. I think I've trophied the last 3 in a row that I've played with different decks. 2 of them with PO, different builds, the control versus the combo build. I have a trophy with Esper Luris before that. I think I have a 4-1 with Esper Luris in there somewhere. It might not be 3 trophies in a row. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, I'm winning a lot with this deck, no matter what the support is. The Breach thing was cool a few times. I'd have to really crush the tape. I was busy playing the games at the time, but I'd have to crush the tape and figure out if Breach won any games that I wouldn't win anyway, or if Breach was just a cool tool where in spots where I had so many cards that it didn't matter what I had. I don't like the Demonic Tutor. I didn't like it in the non-Breach build, and I don't like it here. Just the mana in this deck, the good mana in this deck, as I scroll up and add it to the screen. 14 lands, plus all these Moxen, plus Sink into Stupor, plus Lorien Revealed. This is the appeal of this deck. a big part of the appeal is you can just hit land drops and play normal, fundamental, back and forth 2-for-1 Magic with your stock-ups and Flame of Inors. And adding a card you frequently can't cast or a land that is a lightning rod for Wasteland, I don't like this at all. I think I liked the Mystic Remora build better just to suit my own playstyle. There was at least one spot where I wish Breach was any blue card. Breach did give me... Okay, Breach was my YOLO out in that matchup where I was way behind that Lurrus player, and I brain freezed myself just trying to spike some action off of Lurrus. That's a spot where the Breach was actually better than Mr. Grimoire would have been. I don't think this is the build I'm interested in, but I am certainly interested in PO. Just can't seem to lose with it. And that's the feeling you want with a deck when you have a big tournament coming up. I'm going to leave this one here. Heinz, thanks for the opportunity to play the deck. Everyone, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check out the Patreon to support the channel. The Patreon where I will post my lists and sideboard guides for Eternal Weekend, by the way. Check that out. I'm out of here. See you next time.